Hello, everyone, and welcome to our live. I'm Michelle O'Connor, and if it is that you have a private practice or you know someone who have a private practice, and they sometimes seem to be struggling with trying to constantly build their patient list, or the patients that they have are not coming back, and they need to always be finding new patients. This is a life for them, and so I want you to invite them to come on over and join us. So I help private practice owners to increase their profits without increasing the hours that they work. And you might be wondering, how does this happen? Now, as a business strategist for over 7 years, one of the things that I've learned from working with large organizations in building strategy and maximizing profits even through COVID is that there are certain business practices that we don't implement in our business, and we're always sometimes looking out. I need the new marketing plan. I need the new social media platform. You need something else when a lot of the things that you need to grow your practice, they're right there in front of you. If you're able to have the right eye helping you to find it. And one such thing is building loyal patients. And that's what we're going to be talking about this morning or today, depending on where you're watching from and if you're watching the replay. And as I go through, I want you to, if you're joining, go ahead and put in the chat where you're joining from in the comments, where you're joining from. And as I go through the live, if you have any questions, ask. And the word for today is loyal. I say something that resonates, type loyal, even if you're watching the replay. Now, this is one thing that I think that you can focus on. So when you think about building loyal patients or having persons who are constantly singing your praises, first you need to know them. Understand what is it that they need, and how can I ensure that I am constantly speaking to the things that they need. So let's use an example. Your patients might value you being on time. Your patients might value excellent customer service. Your patients might value how thorough you are when you are with them. If those are the things that they value, then it means that you need to meet them where they are, meet them there, and continue to do those things so they continue coming to you. Now, what I have found and what I have seen is we sometimes treat our patients like a patient number. I'm just taking care of you, and then you're off on your way, and we continue with life. You're not thinking about the patient as somebody you're in relationship with. And I learned this from a friend earlier, maybe like 2018. I did a conference and I was interviewing persons, and one of them, I asked her, how do you grow your mailing list and continue to have persons engaging with you? And one of the things she shared with me was, when she is communicating via email, she's talking to a friend. She's talking to somebody that she cares about. She's talking to somebody who she really wants to share something with, and she loves them. And that comes out in her email. So she's not just taking a template that somebody built and say, yes, this is what you need to use to grow your mailing list. She's really thinking about how it is that she can show up for the person that she's sending an email to. And for your private practice, it's the very same thing. When your patients feel like a part of the family, when they feel like you truly care and you truly value them, then guess what? They're going to stick with you. They are going to continue to remain with you. I think I've shared this story already about my son's pediatrician. We were going to one before when he was way younger. Always late. Doctor was always late. No matter what time appointment you have, always late. And so you're waiting 2-3 hours. Or you choose an appointment that you believe, guess what, he's going to come late, I'm going to plan for the hour. Imagine if you're in the middle, it doesn't work. And then there was one particular day when I needed him, he wasn't available. I went to somebody else, and what ended up happening, that doctor was early. I'm like, oh my God, it's really possible. And because time is of the essence for me, and I value people's time, and I like when persons value my time, I sung her praises. I'm like, listen, she's on time, and because she's on time, she's very thorough. So I want you to think of, what is it that your patients value? What is that? Because that is what is going to cause them to be loyal to you. And when you have one person who is loyal, guess what's going to happen? they are going to tell everybody else, listen, you need to go and see this doctor, or I don't have that issue with my doctor is always thorough, my doctor does this, my doctor does that. But first you need to find out what is valuable to them. And I saw this, yesterday somebody was talking about on social media how you can grow your content as an example, and she shared that share things that people can use, share things that they are asking for, and then they will share it, and one share can equal to 400 views, whether or not that's true, as a scrolling and saw it. But it's just the very same thing. You can't reach everybody that you need to reach by yourself, and so you need an army. You need foot soldiers. Word of mouth to this day, even in the advent of social media, has been proven, tested, and tried to be the best way to grow your business. And it's no different if you're in a private practice. You may pay for ads on social media. I have seen them. If you think of even being on YouTube, you wait until you wait until the countdown comes and you press skip and you move on. But you're seeing the ad until somebody says, have you seen this person? I have tried them. You may not try it. And this is the same thing you want for your patients. So I want you to think about what is important to them. You need to know that first before anything else. And you may be asking, then how do I find out what's important to them? You ask them. When they come in for service, when they come in to see you, whether you're in your practice, you're selling a product, or you're just offering a service, you're seeing them as a doctor, ask. And it doesn't have to be long. And I've done a live around this. I may find it and drop it in the comments. Ask them what is important to them. What did you enjoy about our service today? It doesn't have to be long. It can just be 3 questions. What did you like? What would you like us to improve? Any other suggestions, or what don't you like? Sometimes we're afraid to ask that question, but ask it. What did you like? What did you like? What do you want us to improve? And then you look back at that, and that is what your team does. Not you, the doctor, but you're having, whether you're admin or somebody else, ask them what is important to them, and that is what you're going to provide for them. You're not able to be all to everyone, but guess what? The things that are valuable to you and the things that you can offer to your patients, that is what you're going to do, because they're going to sing your praises. I'm telling you, I am almost 4,000 miles away from home, and I'm having issues. I'm calling my dermatologist. I'm calling my GP. That is the relationship that you want with persons. So then when I am doing that from 4,000 miles away, imagine the persons who are 50 miles or 5 or 3 miles, they are going to continue to sing your praises. So remember, if you're joining, I'm saying something that resonates with you, I want you to type loyal in the chat. That's the word that we are using. And I'm also going to leave in my link if you want us to have a further conversation after this live. We'll do that. Now, what happens when you're able to build loyal patients? As I stated when we started, one of the things that we're doing is trying to figure out what is the next thing we need to do. What's that new thing? What's the up and coming trend? I don't have any patients. I need to host lives, or I need to have a workshop. Look at the patients that you have. So the next thing that you're going to do, offer quality care. Don't treat your patients as they're just a patient number, and you're just looking at, all right, I need to be with them for an hour. I had this experience with a dentist, and I could tell after going maybe 3 or 4 times that, and I get it, you're working within a certain parameter. You don't want to have persons sitting for long, but I could tell that they are working with time. And I just happened to glance up on the screen, and I saw that they're measuring, one of the KPIs they're measuring is the average time with the patient. And I get it, it's important. However, as the patient, I should not feel that you're rushing with me. There should be a way where you're treating me as a patient, and I still feel like, you know what, they do care. But ensure that you are spending quality time with your patients, and that quality time depends on how you set your system up. You may need to rush because maybe you're doing everything. You are the nurse, you're checking their vitals, you're updating their record, you're collecting the money, you're doing all of the admin type stuff. And because you're doing it, the time that sit with the patient to have conversations with them, that's now limited. So that's a whole nother conversation. But offer quality care, and that quality care comes from you constantly improving yourself as well. Because remember, in the end, We don't want you to be doing too much. Remember, our aim is to make sure that you're not doing a lot. What you're doing is seeing your patients and you're having them spread the word for you, and you're just doing what you're good at. But you can only do that if your patients feel like, you know what, I always want to come to you, and these are the things that I love about you. Focus on those things. So for my pediatrician, for my son earlier, she's on time. She focused on being on time. What do I now need to do to make sure I'm on time all the time, or 90% of the time, right? Um, Personal connection. There's nothing better than when you are sitting with your physician, your clinician, and they ask you about something that you may have shared with them before, or how is your mom, or how is your sibling, and it doesn't have to be a long conversation. They will feel like, oh my God, they remembered. Or maybe you're just looking at the patient record and you're saying, okay, you know what, I see that she's married, I see that she has a child, I see that, you know, her mom is her reference, da 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 da. Let me just ask a question. And what I'm suggesting to you, it's no different from what other business owners use. As I shared before, I've been doing strategy and done it for large organizations for a number of years. And the reason I'm doing this is because there are some strategies that you can implement that's no different from persons. You think about when a telemarketer calls you, they're asking you, how was your day? All right, after you check their vitals, what happens for some physicians? Okay, how may I help you today? You know, maybe 30 seconds. How are you? How is the family? And you can do this while you're going through your records. But we want to know that we're not just a number. Where I live, I pass so many dentists. And I always think to myself, I ask myself, and maybe I need to ask them, why would I choose one over the other? The space is crowded. Persons are getting certified in many different things, and a lot of persons are thinking about what it is that they can open, what practice they can start. They see that persons who are operating their own practice are able to show up in a different way. They own their time, many different things. What can I do? And so the space is getting crowded. So you want to find something that differentiates you and helps you to grow in the meantime. Another thing that I want you to think about is communication. No, communication does not only happen when the patient has an appointment and you're reaching out to them about coming in. It's constantly being in their space. If you're watching the television, the reason why a certain brand might stick to your mind, the reason why you will resonate with a brand is because you hear a lot about it. So it registers in your brain. And there's some scientific thing about it. I won't even try and explain it, but I read it and I've understood it. You want to be top of mind for them. Here's how you can do that. Send emails. You're collecting the patient's information. You have their data. And I'm not asking you to take up another job because you don't have the time. You can send 4 emails per month. You can think about this month, for example, we're in the month of August. In some countries, persons have gone back to school. For some, they're starting in September. As a pediatrician, we're using that. Let's use a pediatrician. Kids are getting ready to go back to school. What are some of the things that you want parents to think about? Maybe it is they've ate all the things that they don't normally eat during the summer. What can we do now? What are some things that you need to do to reduce as they go back? You know, you talk about bedtime. You may talk about getting them to start reading again, whatever. Take care of their health. You may be a nutritionist. Think about the things. And for the month of August, every week, you send 1 email about that. That way, remember, we don't want to see the patient, as a number. That way, you're now giving value to your patients and you're top of mind for them. You never can tell when a patient is struggling with something and you just communicate with them right in time and they're able to find a solution. They're going to come to you the next time. I also may have given this example. I signed up with someone who was on LinkedIn. I've never opened one of her emails. I've never read any of her newsletters. And I think for 6 months, they just continue to come in my inbox and I just continue to delete them. I'm like, okay, someday I'm going to get to this. This sounds like something I need to read or I need to listen to. And then one day that person made an offer and I'm like, this is exactly what I want. So sometimes you never can tell, but you can't just communicate with them when it's time because maybe they're having an issue and they're now going to see you as not just their doctor, but you are their expert, you are their go-to. Or even better, they may just have had a conversation with someone or they know someone who is struggling with something that you shared via email. They send it. You want to build foot soldiers. Now, this is just you focusing on who you have, you're not even trying to get other patients. Guess what else is going to happen? When they value you and they see that you value them, this is another thing that persons struggle with. And remember, thank you guys for joining. If you are here, let me know what kind of practice you have. You can put it in the comments. And also the word for today is loyal. If I say something that resonates with you, go ahead and drop that in the chat. So here's the other thing that ends up happening. Doctors complain about cancellation and cancellation like close to the time. And remember, if you have booked an hour, 45, 30 minutes to see a patient and they cancel, it means that that's time that you may be able to see somebody else, depending. A lot of time patients show up before time, so you're able to fill the slot. But they won't just cancel on you abruptly. They will call ahead of time and ensure that you're aware and they're now able to schedule time with somebody else. But it's a relationship. Now, if you only call me, oh, I noticed that you haven't come in for last 6 months. Are you coming in today? Yes, no. Okay. All right, take care. I'm gonna be like, okay. You want to give them something where they're able to tell other people, you know what, my doctor, I've been going to him from I'm 16, and these are the things I love about him. He's da 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 da. They're at home and they're feeling sick. Oh, you know what, Michelle said her doctor was. Let me get the doctor's information. No matter what you do, no matter how much ads you run, no matter whatever you offer and your marketing team, nothing grows like word of mouth. And you are able to have your patients spread the word if they value and they feel like you value them. So feedbacks, we talk about communication, ensure that you have a feedback system. When you send an email, ask at the end of the email, hit reply if this makes sense to you, or ask them for feedback. What else would you like us to talk about? What are the things that you're struggling with? Because we know sometimes that you don't get to do that when you're sitting with them face to face because you're trying to address their health concerns. But in your communication, that is now how you're able to do that. And we can have a whole other live about how you can set up and automate your communication system so you are not doing it. Remember, we're not adding additional work to you, but it is set up for the entire month. Take an hour and think through, what are some of the things that my patients have been asking me about? And these are the things that I'm going to send emails for within this month. So communication. I'm going to touch a little bit on technology. Now, if it is that you have your patient's record electronically stored, you can take some time to glance and see, what's the update? What was the last thing they came in for? Or what are some of the common challenges that my patients are having? Sometimes because things are manual, we just have paper, it can be very hard for you to do that. But if you're electronically storing your patient's information, that can also make it easy for you. However, I know as well that this is not possible for everyone. I have a live that's coming up, I think, next week, and I'm going to be talking about how it is that you can use technology and you automate those day-to-day tasks, and you don't have to do it because there are systems out there that can do it and they're not expensive. So we're going to be touching on that next week. But those are just some of the things. Hey, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for joining. So think about technology and how it is that can help you to personalize your care. So one of the things that I want you to think through if it is that you're struggling with, my patients aren't paying on time, or I have to reduce my price, or I can't increase my price because based on what my average patients get up from their health card and the difference that they would need to pay, they're not able to afford it. So they're not paying, right? Or they keep canceling, different things that can happen. I want you to think about how can you find out what is their greatest concern and serve them in a different way. What do I mean by that? No, maybe they based on this, the service that they need, they're not able to afford it. You may be able to put that in your communication. So patients are calling about a certain type of skin condition. What can we do? What can I communicate and send them in that email? Because you're also thinking about preventative measures as well, and not just after the fact. You're not just thinking about, all right, when they get sick or when they have an issue, but you're thinking about preventative measures. I'm working with someone who is, she's thinking about starting offering a course as a doctor about menopause. And one of the things that I said to her is, it is needed, that conversation is needed, because as a woman, that we don't talk about that a lot. We talk about, okay, you need to have kids and you need to this and you need to that, and then the conversation stops, because in some cultures it's an uncomfortable conversation, and after you reach a certain age you feel bad about talking about these things. But what is it that you can communicate with your patients? Because now they know that you're thinking about them as a whole. I am not just coming to you right now because I have this concern, but I'm thinking about what's going to be happening to you next year. So when you sit with someone, listen. We talk about listening. Listen to the things that they are saying. They may not have the medical terms. They may not be able to communicate it to you in a very straightforward way, because remember, we don't know what we don't know. And so when you're listening, you're like, okay, for today or for the past week, I've been having X number of patients who are talking to me about this particular thing. So therefore, I now need to probably put that in an email, right? So those are some of the things that you're going to be thinking about. And the last thing that I want to share with you is you want to make sure that you're measuring and making improvements. So earlier we spoke about asking for their feedback, asking them questions. What did you like? What didn't you like? What would you like us to improve in our practice? See if you can monitor those and make improvements. Maybe your patients have an issue because there's no parking, or the seating in the waiting area is not comfortable, the air conditioner is too cold or it's too hot. Don't just see it as negative feedback. Be very grateful. I've always said as well that when someone is willing to write, take the time to give you feedback, it means that they value what you offer and they probably want you to improve. Or they had very high expectation. Now they are disappointed and they would like you to get back to what you promised. So monitor that result. And you don't need a fancy system to get feedback. If you have a Gmail account, you can set it up on Google Drive. You can set up a form, set up a survey, ask 2 or 3 questions, get an intern, or you do it once per month. You have all the data that's stored. You may hire somebody on Fiverr and say, hey, $50. Here's all the information that I have. Can you give it back to me in a way that I can use it so I can make these decisions? I want to know what to improve, what my patients are asking for and what I need to continue doing. Or we have AI for that. And some of the free versions can allow you to do that as well. You put all your data in the AI tool and you ask them specifically, I got this feedback from my patients over the past month from the information that I've uploaded. Can you let me know what is not working for them? What do I need to improve on or implement? And what do I need to continue doing? You will get back a report that can help you to continue to serve. So remember, it's not about always going outside and finding new persons. How are you serving the ones that you currently have? And you're able to build loyalty amongst your patients if you are listening to them, If you find out what is valuable for them, if you're serving them, you're not seeing them just as a patient number, or they're coming to you with an issue, you're thinking about how can I truly sit and listen and be present. And you can do that if you have your system set up properly. Also, if you're communicating with them, and that could be you're sending them emails based on your field of expertise, you're sending them emails about things that can help to improve their lives, and you are using technology to support you with this, so you are not constantly overwhelmed. We are all about helping you to build systems and processes so you can show up as your best self in the field that you're in and not be overwhelmed. And I hope that you found all this information valuable. If it is that you're joining for the replay, can drop reply, loyal, because that was the word that we're using, loyal in the chat. And I'm also going to be leaving my link as well. If it is that you're operating your practice and you're feeling overwhelmed, you're like, you know what, this sounds like a lot. It sounds like a good idea, Michelle, but I am not able to engage my audience. I'm not able to do anything else more than just be a doctor. I'm barely surviving right now. If that is also you, I am going to invite you to send me an email, schedule a conversation with me, and I will talk to you about it, because many persons are doing it and it is not impossible. It's sometimes harder because you're not able to do it. And one of the reasons I started was because I was getting this from other patients. Hey, Alexandra, thank you so much for joining. One of the concerns I was getting from doctors was, I did not do business in school, so therefore I am barely trying to just survive in this this field. And the thing is, the minute you start a private practice, you're officially a CEO. You're no longer just a doctor. You have business things to think about, and one of those things is your patients. Remember, if you build them, you help them to be loyal, you see them, you communicate with them, then they now become the persons who continue to share the word about your practice. They also refer persons to you, and you're able to grow organically without doing much. And we don't want you doing much, because we want you to serve persons. So I hope you found this live enlightening. Go ahead and share it with others. Just the same, hey, this can apply to you. I know that you've been struggling. Go ahead and share with other persons. And we're always open to hearing from you if you have any other topics that you want us to talk about, things that are happening for you that are challenging. But go ahead as well and schedule a call. And we're looking forward to seeing you. Remember, next week we are talking about how it is that you can automate those day-to-day tasks. And I've met with a few persons who offer the service. They offer calendar management, you name it. We'll talk about it next week, but come again and join us at the same time. But the lives are always here for you to watch the replay. Have a great day. Thank you so much for joining, guys.